In every game, there is always the main villain or a monster that is trying to stop you or kill you. It depends on the game. Some are bigger and some have a smaller purpose. I have always been more interested in the antagonist in video games and movies. Just like many others are fascinated by how the character became evil and what the person or thing motivations are or how they behave. There are different types of motives from villains, some are more clear than others. So today I'm going to list and talk about my favorite antagonists in video games and discuss why I think they're the best. It's not in a particular order. And remember, I haven't played every video game in this world, so I'm probably gonna miss your favorite antagonist, and that's fine. But this is my list, and you can write down your favorite in the comments. Lavos from Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is one of the best games out there, and the game's biggest antagonist is Lavos. But what's so special about it? Well, it got 3 different forms. The first one is a tick-looking monster, and is a shell for the other 2 forms. The second one is a robot-looking monster, which is my favorite. And the final form is Lavos core, which is a more typical alien with a space garment. Lavos landed on Earth 65 million BC, and depending on the timeline, you can see the impact that Lavos has on Earth. Ice Age, evolution of magic, the kingdom of Seal that extract power from Lavos, activates the Mammon machine and wakes Lavos up, causing chaos. While being deep down in Earth, it also collects the DNA from the planets and different organisms, and using their power for its own. So the main point for Lavos on Earth is to drain the planet and produce genetically enhanced creatures. Lavos also controls and impacts the technology and life on the planet. And that is what makes the life on Earth evolve, so that later Lavos can acquire them with the goal to just make itself stronger. This thing does not have a personality that you can analyze, and that's what makes it more fascinating. Lavos is unknown and has the function of a parasite that lands on planets. It's here to destroy everything, just for itself. And that's what makes it interesting. It exists to take everything from a living planet, make it die and move on to the next one, almost like a tick on a human body. But instead of dying after absorbing things, it goes to the next host, which is way worse. It's the mystery of a monster that only exists for itself. The Primamacula from Plague Tale Requiem. The macula is a living power that works through the bearer, and it also communes with disease. The macula is somewhat self-aware and malicious, meaning it can cause harm to the bearer, but also to the surroundings. The macula is a bit odd in a way that it's hereditary in a certain bloodlines. For example, in the Rune family. And in these 2 games, it's in Hugo's blood. The origin of the Primamacula is unknown or when it first occurred, but it has been traced back to the Justinian plagues, 6 centuries before the first game, A Plague Tale. But one of the first occurrences is in the Roman frescoes, a painting that shows a baby, Basilius, that had manifested the macula curse. The information of the macula and the baby was kept in the Sanguine's Itinera, or in English, Voyages of the Blood, which was a forbidden book and locked away from the world. To know if you have the macula, there are symptoms that vary depending on the host. First, there are no symptoms. The curse is in a form of dormancy, but later the curse wakes up and takes its direct form, its original state. There are also different thresholds. Before the first threshold, all of the previous signs as headaches and ringing noise become more frequent. Breathe! The person can also hear voices in their head, and that something is growing inside the carrier's body. In this case, the veins turns black and spreads through the body. The first threshold means a lot of pain and unable to walk. Some carriers may die just because of that, but if the carrier survives, in this case Hugo, now can control the rats. Now, post-threshold, the veins are more black and visible all up to the carrier's face. The carrier have now full control of the rats. There may also be some changes in the carrier's voice. So if we go back to Hugo the Rune, the family already knew about the curse in their bloodline. Just like the baby in the painting, Hugo was kept away from everyone and his parents tried to fight the curse, which was unpreventable.
We need to get him to safety, Amicia.
You want to lock him away again. It's not the same thing.
The problem the macula did was not only for the carrier and the devastating effects it causes to humans overall, but also that it gives some people a thirst for its power and use this power for themselves. For example, Vitalis in the first game. And again, just like some other antagonists on this list, this is something unknown. It's just something that came to be and has a devastating effect on humanity as a whole, which makes this even more scary. The Covenant, the hierarchs from the Halo series. The Covenant is a mix of different alien races. They are all divided into different systems and worth less or more depending on it. There is the religious, warriors and workers. They are all divided by their races, and some would be seen as more superior than other races. The ones on top is the Sunshine, and it's those guys I want to talk about and why they are one of my favorite antagonists in the Halo series. The three hierarchs. High Prophet of Truth, the High Prophet of Mercy, and the Prophet of Regret. The whole Covenant was a theocratic empire. The duty of these three hierarchs was to guide the Covenant into the Great Journey. The Covenant worshipped the Forerunners, an ancient race that the Covenant thought of as an enlightened beings, powerful, and that they become gods by activating Halo rings. Or as the members of the Covenant would say, sacred rings. They also believed that they are the chosen ones to inherit the Forerunners and saw the technology the Forerunners left behind as gifts from them. So the goal here is to activate the Halo rings. This leading through the great journey that will lead them through godhood.
Soon the great journey shall begin.
They later realized that their entire religion was false and their salvation was all a lie. The Forerunners was just another alien race, and the true successors being humanity and not the Covenant.
Worthless as these oracles! They know nothing of the great journey!
This is where the prophets were now afraid of losing power and started to tell lies about humanity and started their religious crusade against the human race. Why are they my favorite antagonist? Well, I think it's always interesting when it comes to the brainwashing and manipulation. Something that's very prevalent in our own society. But the three hierarchs are also very evil and harsh. For example, if someone in the Covenant failed one of their holy missions that the hierarchs assigned them, there would be consequences and sometimes execution. I just think that the way they made the Covenant and the hierarchs are a well done job when it comes to antagonists. The hierarchs are smart and very good when it comes to manipulation. They are a well done antagonist representing the high mind and brainwashing. Micah Bell from Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games. It got one of the best protagonists ever, but it also got a very interesting antagonist, Micah Bell. The game takes place in the US, 1899. Micah have only been in the Van gang for only 5 months, right before the Blackwater robbery. So he is new to the group, comparing to Arthur, who has known Dutch and Hosea since he was 14 years old. I would say that in this list, Micah Bell is the most realistic human and one of the most hated characters in gaming. But I think he is one of the greatest antagonists just because of that. Already from the beginning, the Van gang did not trust Micah.
You don't
know what you're talking about. You don't give a damn about nobody but yourself.
Oh, you act so high and mighty.
But Dutch always gives an excuse when it comes to him. From the start, we get to see Micah is a troublesome character. For example, in Strawberry, when we get to save him from a prison, he only causes more trouble.
Wait, let's get the hell out of here.
I got some unfinished business. Trust me, Morgan.
Trust you? You have finally lost your damn mind.
But he's not only troublesome, he's a very narcissistic, sadistic, and a hurtful character. In Strawberry, he kills a man and his wife just to get his gun back.
They had something of mine. My guns.
Through the journey as Arthur, we get to see that he is mean against people in the crew, including animals. He always exaggerating and goes overboard when it comes to killing other people. Not to mention the racism and sexism. He is a bully. Also saying stupid stuff in different missions. He doesn't think of what is best for his crew. Later on in the game, we get to know that Micah is the biggest snitch ever after the Guarma mission.
All them years, Dutch. For this snake.
Oh, be quiet, cowpoke.
He is the one that gives out information about the gang to the Pinkertons just for his own sake. But he is also manipulative, and that was his biggest part as an antagonist, and led to the tragic end with the crew and Arthur. Not his death, but the way it ended. How he manipulated Dutch. Dutch chose Micah over Arthur, even after all those years they've spent together, and the crap that Arthur did for Dutch, that Micah would never have done.
Lucky I bumped into him.
What is going on, Dutch? What is happening to us? What's happening to you?
You show him some respect.
Arthur dies, and depending on if you have good honor or bad honor, you will either just have a fight with Micah or he will shoot Arthur in the head. Arthur saved this man's life in the beginning from getting hanged, just to see that he snitched and manipulates Dutch and then beat him up before Arthur dies. I had a good honor ending, and I remember that I felt so angry that Micah and Dutch survive in the end. But we get to avenge Arthur in the end of the game. And yes, it felt good. He is one of my favorite antagonists just because he's a well-written character and the great acting from Peter Blomqvist. It's like Umbridge in Harry Potter. She is a well-written antagonist, but you freaking hate her, but respect the writing and the acting. Gunter O. Dim from The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is one of the best Western RPGs ever, and the DLC helps out with that. First of all, in the beginning of The Witcher 3, you meet a strange character. You don't really know who he really is until you play the DLC, Heart of Stone. But this character is interesting because I think many people do not think of him as anything special in the beginning of The Witcher 3 main story. Geralt wants to find Yennefer, and this strange man gives him information but wants nothing in return. Yet. He only says that one day he may be in trouble and Geralt could help him.
We men of the road must stick together. Perhaps one day I'll be in trouble and you'll be nearby to help.
My brother told me to remember him when I started to play The Witcher 3, but how could I? But of course I did not remember him after all the side missions and everything that's in the main story. But when you finally get to the DLC of Heart and Stone where you meet the strange guy, Gunter O. Dim. But who is this guy and why is he one of my favorite antagonists? Well, later on when you start the DLC quest you meet Odim again when Geralt was trapped in a prison, waiting for his hanging. But Odim steps forward, offering to help Geralt and then being in debt to Gunter and giving him a scar on his face with Odim's initials.
What's that? A mark to show we're associates.
He gives Geralt a task he must fulfill to remove himself from this debt. So this is where we get to see that this man is not just some normal NPC. He is different and uses some form of magic. But who is he and why does he do this? No one really knows who he is or what he is. Just as his alias is Master Mirror or Man of the Glass.
Gunter Odin. known also as Master Mirror.
And he plays with his victim that he had made a pact with. There have also been records of him that goes back over 1,000 years, back in different cultures with many different names.
A little less trouble?
You can challenge him on a duel of wits and word traps and beat him, but what he requires is human souls. Odim can control time and manipulate it when he claps his hands, which is a cool thing to do, but this also what makes him dangerous.
Show off.
So after Geralt fulfills Von Everec's wishes, you can choose to either give Von Everec's soul to Odim or challenge him. If you challenge him, he makes you go through a riddle in a different world.
You wish to play, so let us play. I shall tell you a riddle. Solve it, and both you and Olgierd will be free.
Through the riddle, Odim makes obstacles in front of Geralt just to waste the time that he has got to solve the riddle, and to just play with Geralt in his own game he thought Geralt would lose. But in the end we figure out that the answer is mirror, the reflection to one's self.
Gotcha.
So Odim loses and disappears. But Odim is immortal and will return one day as he has done before. And this is what makes him one of my favorite antagonists. He, just like Lavos, has this mysterious way of living. We don't know what he is, just that he is an evil creature of some sort, that just comes back and have existed in different cultures and different epochs. I would love to see the Witcher franchise build more upon him, and maybe, just maybe, they could capture him or destroy him once and for all. Just maybe. Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Yes, I know what some of you may think. How generic to have Sephiroth on this list. He is just a mama's boy. Everyone thinks he's so cool and powerful. And yes, that's some of the reason why he is on this list. But I do think his backstory is a good reason, and because he is very powerful antagonist. Sephiroth is the perfect soldier for Shinra and wins their war. He's relatively normal until he learns the truth about himself. At least some of it. He now thinks that his mother is Jenova, an alien that landed on Gaia, and that he is the last descendant of the Cetra people, and that the Cetra people were wiped out thanks to the human race. His hatred for humanity becomes bigger and gives a promise to his mother, Jenova, to avenge the Cetra people and find the Promised Land.
I had an epiphany. Let's go to the Promised Land.
Which leads him destroying Nibelheim. Later in the Crisis Core story, we see that he is killed by Cloud, thrown into the livestream where Sephiroth remains in the North Crater, where he's gathering power and knowledge. And later in the Final Fantasy VII story, he takes control and influences people that got Jenova cells in them. He is also using his Jenova cells and can shift into his human form to act out his plan in Midgard. Sephiroth's plan is to take over the world by destroying the humans, using the black materia and summon meteor that will penetrate the planet and making a hole in it. The livestream will try to heal the planet, but Sephiroth's plan is to take the livestream for himself, to become a godlike figure and control Gaia. He thinks it's his birthright. But the truth is, he's not the son of Jenova, or the last remaining Cetra, as most of us know that Aerith is the last one. Sephiroth, being the son of the disgusting man Hojo and the woman Lucretia, had injection of Jenova cells when Sephiroth only was in his fetal stage. Yes, he has misunderstood where he is coming from, but he is one of the greatest because he's so powerful, and that's what makes him one of my favorite antagonists. It's the switch before and after. I'm super excited to see more of his power in Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth that's coming out. and the later ones that's coming, of course, but in a few months we will see that. Hopefully. More power, I want more of it. Luca Blight from Suikoden 2. I recently finished Suikoden 2, and it's an amazing game that deserves more praise, especially in the bigger sphere of the video game world, not just in the JRPGs section of the gaming world, I guess. Luca Blight is a strong antagonist who is a bloodthirsty prince who only wants death for the people in the world. When you play through the game, that's kind of what you see the most when it comes to him. Killing. And that's his end goal, destroy the city-states of Yoston. He sacrifices the citizens of Muse using the Beast Rune, giving the monster their souls. He also plays around with his victims before he kills them. But why is he one of my favorite villains? Well, you see him first as this crazy mad prince who only wants power and destroy everything. Some may think he's only a good villain for that, but if you look closely in his backstory, it kind of makes sense why his motives are to destroy the world. It's all about vengeance. When he was a child, a group of bandits from Muse attacked Luca, his mother, and his father, King Agares. In this moment, his father fled, leaving his wife and son behind him. And since that day, he felt hatred for his dad. His mother, who then got raped while Luca witnessed this whole thing. She later got pregnant and died giving birth to his sister, Gilia. That's why he specially killed the citizens of Muse with the Beast Rune, and later killed his dad, King Agares of Highland, for running away. His backstory is interesting, and even if his sister is his half-sister, he never treated her bad or killed her or anything like that. So in the end, it was all about the love he had for his mother. Interesting story, and I buy it when it comes to power, hate, love and vengeance. Not that I agree of what he did, but I understand it. Myan Hawa from Xenogears. I'm not gonna lie, Xenogears is my favorite video game of all time. And of all of these antagonists, Myan Hawa is my favorite video game antagonist. Myan, the mother of all humanity. I could talk about the story, but it's pretty massive and complicated, so I will only discuss the main parts of Myan Hawa. After the intro in the game, we get to see her, not really knowing what she is in the first place. The spaceship Eldridge falls down on a planet, together with Deus and the Zohar modifier. Deus got damaged, which made it activate a regenerate program. This is where Myan comes in. Deus used the original Elohim, or Ellie, who now turned into Myan Hawa. The only goal she has now is to create biological tissue to repair Deus. She creates the Gasl Ministry. The first incarnation of Myan, the first incarnation of Ellie, and then returns to the Kadomini stasis pod, where she herself was generated. But what's so interesting with this antagonist is that she have a code, and are only programmed to prepare humanity for harvest by Deus. She does not turn away from her purpose. She creates conspiracies that causes many wars for thousands of years. She is the mother of all humanity. Every woman have this genetic factor, so Myan can incarnate into any woman on the planet. So when the woman dies she incarnated, Myan will live on in the next woman. And every time, the memories of the last incarnated woman will have the memories and experiences of the previous ones, so that Myan have the same personality as the other ones. She cannot choose which woman to incarnate, but the chance is higher if the genetics of the woman's body is stronger. So we get to see Myan in different bodies. Mother, Seaboim, Karen, Myan, Ellie through many years ahead, controlling, manipulating people into making progress of her plan of repairing Deus. Through different times. Beginning, Seaboim era, Shevat Solaris, Lacan, Karellan, Ethos Church, Ramses. So ever since the humanity started on this planet, she had a total of 999 incarnations in total, Ellie being the last vessel, because she is the second part of Mother of all humanity and the so-called nurturing part, while Myan has the goal of, or programmed goal to boost the evolution of humanity. So her goal is to, in the end, be incarnated with Ellie and to be reabsorbed by Deus. When I first played this game, I was amazed by what the writers of this game had put together. The idea of the beginning of the human race on this planet would come from a different source far away. And Myan is an interesting concept of a coded antagonist. She only follows what she is programmed for. She is powerful, smart and dangerous, and controlling. It's the coding part and the incarnation that makes her so fascinating. It's how she works through the world, creating chaos for one purpose. These are my favorite video game antagonists. Some are more simple than the other, some are more unknown, some are more clear. I came to the conclusion that I like the manipulating, brainwashing characters that have great power or wants great power, or that just wants to end the world or a certain character. Comment down below which one's your favorite video game antagonists, and do you see any pattern of what type of antagonist you like? Thanks for watching and hej då!